Hello, welcome to another edition of Modern American Shamanism with your host, Hooded Wanderer. Hey, my favorite coffee cup. I'm in a lot of pain today, everybody, so there'll be a lot of coffee. So today we're going to continue the chat that I started last time about Samhain, or Aldevetzel in Pennsylvania German, and I know I didn't pronounce that correctly. So where we left off. Okay, now there are, like Yule, there are 12 days of Samhain. Okay. The 31st, where everybody goes takes their kids trick or treating and everything. That's the big night, the one where you usually hold large ritual with your family members, honor the Alfar, your male ancestors, because Samhain is about male ancestors, and Mother's Night, the first night of Yule, is about your female ancestors. So the Samhain is the night that you usually get the family together and do the big ritual. You hold a bloat, alpha bloat, a bloat to the Alfar, which are your male ancestors, and uh, and you tell their stories and make the offerings, and um, you offer them your Megan, and in the Gabo room with reciprocity in return, they give you their ancestor ghost Megan to help you accomplish the things that you want to accomplish in your future. It's basically that simple. Now, the good thing about Northern European rituals and traditions, you only have two basic ritual structures, a sumbel and a bloat. Okay, so you don't have to try and find time over a 2 week period to try and stitch together the perfect ritual that makes everybody happy and is really cool and keeps everybody interested, because they're all the same structure. Okay, 3 rounds: gods, ancestors, and boasts. Okay, whether you're doing a sumbel or a bloat. Okay, there uh, there are other things that go on in a bloat, but basically it's always the same thing, always the same structure. Okay, so you're talking about your ancestors, you're honoring the things that they did, you're telling their stories, and then you're creating that extension of the web of weird, doing your modern Norse magic. Uh, Actually, it's not modern; it's the way they did it forever. But and then you're building on what your ancestors did, saying that great grandpa did this, grandpa did this, my dad did this, so I can also do this next year or in the next 2 years, however you think you need to do it, kind of thing. That's the setup for a sumbel and a bloat. Excuse me. It is coffee with a heathen. So, all right. Um, and again, Samhain is 12 days long. You don't have to do a big ritual with the whole family on 31st, depending, especially if you have a lot of kids and you got a lot going on with trick or treating and dressing up for school and getting candy together and all this stuff. It's just the first day. So you can get your family together if you do ritual with your family, and hold a giant ritual any other day throughout the next 11 days. Okay, October 31st to November 11th is the celebration of Samhain. Okay, now normally what we do and is we will either get a tea candle, one of the little candles, and light it. And if you have kids at home, light it on your ancestor altar and tell one or two stories about your ancestors, that their stories, and make an offering of their favorite food or their favorite drink. Okay, and this is a good way to get younger kids motivated and doing things. Like if they're capable, they can light the candle, or they can set the food or the drink on the altar, and you can share these stories with them. Don't you don't not don't, but you might want to try and avoid overloading your kids on Halloween or Samhain with trick or treating and school events and giant family ritual and telling 1,000 stories about your super great quadruple grandfather all the way up to their dad or their grandfather. How I'm assuming, hopefully their dad's still alive, and everything. Because then this really bores the kids after a while. It becomes exciting for a moment, and then it becomes boring to them. So if the idea is to get them motivated and to get them to want to do these types of rituals every year with the family. And so you got 12 days to tell one or two stories every day. Okay, getting them involved, and you don't have to do it every day, even every other day. Just kind of like bring the kids in and get them motivated about learning about their ancestors and knowing their stories, and then wanting to grow up and honor their ancestors. That is the number one thing that everybody forgets. I had this super great great grandfather who did all this cool shit while I sit on my ass and play video games and I haven't seen the sun in 6 months. Okay. Um, I like video games, so don't get me wrong. I would just make an example. But everybody forgets to be the person that their ancestors are proud of. Okay. You've got to always remember that because your ancestors are always there watching you. They're always there trying to support you. And so you've got to hold their attention the same way as um, they've got to hold yours. Okay. So we talked about the 12 days of Yule. We've talked about how Samhain is the male ancestors ritual. We talked about, well, we haven't talked about that the main ritual for Samhain and Mother's Night are strictly family rituals. No outsiders are allowed. In fact, even up to like into the year 1000s, they had bodyguards or security outside the family homes when everybody was doing the alpha bloat or the Disa bloat. The Disa bloat is for Mother's Night. It's that the bloat to honor the female ancestors, and so this kept outsiders away from the homes. It was the only nights that uh, hospitality rules were suspended. You could not give hospitality to somebody that was not in the family because of the alpha bloat and Disa bloats that you were holding on the two main nights. Okay, now not everybody got to hold their rituals on the 31st of October or the 20th of December. Okay, but when you held those rituals, they were strictly for family. And then you've got 11 other days that you did these minor, smaller rituals with your neighbors, with your friends, and everything. It's 12 full days. You got time to uh, work with your children and work with your family and do things and tell old stories that you might not have known that your sister knows or your brother knows and kind of things. It's just a time simply in its rawest form of remembering your ancestors and the things they did and understanding that they worked hard to bring you into the world and it's your job to be somebody that they're proud of. Okay, that's the bottom line of what uh, Yule and Samhain are all about. Okay, um, coffee. My cat Puck was up here a little while ago trying to get all up on the computer, and now he's nowhere to be found. So you guys don't get to meet him today. Sorry about that. All right, I'm going to cut this off here because we covered 12 days ancestor worship. The ritual is Stumble or Bloat, straightforward. You can find those on our webpage, Modern American Shamanism. You can find it on our Facebook page, Modern American Shamanism on Facebook. Um, and we've got the links to those rituals. And so all you got to do is click a button, maybe twice, and you can find those rituals if you want to know how to do an alpha bloat, okay, and other ways of honoring your ancestors. Okay, and, oh, quick thing. Don't forget if you offer food and drinks on your ancestor altar, don't forget to clean them up the next morning. Don't leave stuff around until it goes bad. That's a giant no go and that's very disrespectful. So I hope everybody enjoyed this and I will see you guys. Well, it already is November, so later in November.